So actually, I'm just going to leave that alone for a second, and I'm going to hand him the microphone. So my name is Lisha Sterling. This is Myron Dewey. We were together at Standing Rock. Does anybody in this room not know what Standing Rock is and what Standing Rock was this past year? Okay, there are some hands. So in a moment, we're going to show you a few pictures really quickly, but just to give you the short story, there is a pipeline called DAPL that was supposed to cross through the city of Bismarck, North Dakota. The nice white people of Bismarck, North Dakota, in their McMansions, did not like the idea of having a third pipeline laid next to the other two pipelines that go through their town. So they said, "You can't do this here." And so DAPL said, "Okay, we'll put it down just above the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. Nobody cares about that. It's in the middle of nowhere." Well, it just so happens that that piece of land, despite the fact that it's not in the reservation, is a sacred land with burial sites and ceremonial sites on it, and B, covered by the treaties that the United States has with the Great Sioux Nation. And so an event ensued in which many people came to a camp. At its largest point, the camps at Ochetishakowing, Sacred Stone, and the Rosebud Camp in Standing Rock were together the second largest city in all of North Dakota. And we stayed there, not like those Occupy people who left when it got a little cold. We stayed all the way through the winter because we're bad. Anyway, so that's the brief introduction of what it's all about. I'm going to hand this off to Myron while I get our presentation up.
The most important part about that is it wasn't just a civil rights movement, it was an Indigenous LED movement. And so for 500 years, if you guys don't know, we've been dealing with colonization for that long. So when we talk about colonization out there, now we're going to talk about it here in the technical space where we see an encroachment. And it's very important that, I don't know, you guys understand, through all the reservations are in the digital divide. But fiber goes through, spectrum, microwave, bandwidth that comes through satellite. And I don't know any tribe right now that has any orbital real estate unless somebody knows and correct me. Anybody? We own a DirecTV or Dish Network or anything like that comes through, satellite internet? No? So let me see. Let me do a little bit of what I call Indian 101. I want to ask you guys, where are you from? But don't tell me New York, California, Nebraska. I want to know where your indigenous roots are from. Someone's looking at me. I'll get this guy right here. Europe. So I checked in thousands of people that came through Standing Rock that didn't know. And I'm a historical trauma trainer. I'm a professor, and I also build schematics for wireless communications. And so I encountered a lot of people that finally started to figure out the true history that was happening to indigenous people. And there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of guilt, and a lot of embarrassing moments where this was happening right in front of us. And we're going to show a video too that will show just an overview. But what this is happening right in the middle of North Dakota in Indian country, but also United States. Many people did not know where their roots are from. This is what we're fighting for in technology, encroachment on the reservation. Through my homelands, we've had to deal with fiber optics going through our sacred sites. And at that time, we didn't have the technical literacy to articulate it. But today we do. And we'll be sharing that with you guys. I'm sure you guys got a lot of questions, and all you tech guys out there know what I'm talking about when we look at the digital divide going out through Indian country. We're left out of that. And many of you guys who know what the cost of technology is, our tribe's in constant defense of protecting their sacred sites from that technology. Not that it's not important, but burial sites and connection to those burial sites are very important. And that's what we witnessed here with the Dakota Access Pipeline, was a desecration of sacred sites right in front of everybody. And not only did the desecration, but they occupied it and sat on top during Thanksgiving Day, which we call Thanks-taking. And it's a whole completely different side of history for us. It's like George Carlin says, the American dream, you got to be sleeping in order to experience it. We know what he means. So
as you can see, trying to mirror my screens just defeated me. I should have been happy with what I had. So we have a really short amount of time, so I'm just going to jump straight into the security side of things. So what we want to tell you about is about the cyber warfare that was happening at Standing Rock. This is important in part because of the fact that this is an issue between the U.S. government and the indigenous communities within the United States, but it's also a very important issue to be concerned about because they are using these same tactics against other activist movements, not only water protectors, not only environmental activists, but they used some of these things against J20 activists where we have an ongoing investigation. And the main reason that I'm here and asked Myron to come here to present to you is also because we're still investigating and trying to understand what happened, and I need your help. So thing number one, I'm going to cover the bullet points, and then we'll go through and explain rather than follow the presentation. Who needs a presentation? So thing number one, the entire area was locked down like a war zone. I have lived in Israel. I have gone into the West Bank. I know what a West Bank roadblock looks like. And I am not kidding when I say that in September, when I crossed down into this area, the roadblock that was there looked like a West Bank roadblock. The cement went all the way out to the edges of the property, so there was no way to get around. You could only get one car through. There were armed National Guard. There were, armored vehicles. This is no joke, right? So, wake up, okay, here we go. Now, once you get down there, or as you're going down there, you see many command vans. Not a command van in one place, but there are command vans to the north of camp. There are command vans to the south of camp. Sometimes you would see 3 different command vans from different law enforcement agencies parked here, 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 or even in a T on one side and then one on the other side. It was like they were having a command van party.
It's very important to have everyone understand that this was untrained militarization that was going on here. So when we're looking at the human rights violations and the constitutional violations, they were untrained. In the very beginning, it started out with prayer. So everyone was a part of that prayer at that time. Pray in your own way, whether you do or don't. And with that was everyone was ever to share that circle together. And when they got the instructions to incite a riot, everything changed, overnight. And they started bringing in all these armored vehicles one by one, playing by rail. And it's interesting to watch this evolve. As they stepped out of that circle, it started becoming militarization. And untrained officers in the front who didn't have the tools, we started to see a lot of random shooting, the rubber bullets. Have you guys, anybody been shot by a rubber bullet? Those things they're thick. And when it's freezing, they're almost like a bullet. So a lot of the damage it's done and documented. What puzzles me is that almost everyone had a camera, whether it's a cell phone, a professional or filmmaker, documentary, podcaster, audio, visual, professional, Hollywood people there. So everyone almost had a camera and everyone was documenting. So you can go on digital smoke signals. And just for being an indigenous filmmaker and professor, my goal was to really educate the world what they were seeing in real time. A lot of live feeds. If you guys seen in the very beginning where the documentary was called Awake, gives you an encompass of what happened there at Standing Rock.
Okay, so
you should just play the overview.
Yeah, so I'm just going to play this overview for you, and then we're going to go through. That's where we were. Can you guys hear the audio?
Up in your face.
fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline is taking place on the ground, in the water, and in the sky. BSidesLV and Myron Dewey fly their drones over construction sites of the $3.8 billion pipeline. It's nearly complete despite massive opposition from the largest gathering of tribes in history. They surveil the construction from overhead, documenting the pipeline's path through sacred sites and providing intel to protesters who call themselves water protectors.
They're actually now, this is how close they are to the river. They're building a barricade around their site. Oh, so you see that? You see that? You see that? See? And it just got hit. Whoa, it got hit again.
Their drones are often shot at by police, who, along with private security, are a constant presence around this portion of the 1,172 miles of pipeline. On a night when police shot water protectors with tear gas, rubber bullets, and water cannons in freezing weather, Myron and his crew provided live aerial views of the scene.
What we have is percussion grenades being thrown. We have the police are right down there in the front. They're spraying water with LRADs. Continue to share as fast as you can.
They're trying to hit me. Hold on, I gotta get out of there.
Trying to hit your drone?
Yeah, they've already shot me twice.
Go straight up.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm getting away.
But keep the camera on them no matter what. Keep the camera on them. So this is one way to keep us from documenting.
They shoot our drones.
This is what we're looking at the footage the last hours after. So what we experienced there was also a media blackout. There's only a few areas where you could get online, and the documentation of the cell phone blocking was at a straight level. So we had to go up in a higher ground and actually have cell phone boosters to get the signal out, which barely got out. But many times we also documented full media blackout with 4G. So it went down to LTE, down to 4G, and just continued to document all the discrepancies that were happening and going live.
Okay, so our cast. We've got the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and the other signatories to the treaty. We've got Energy Transfer Partners, which are the owners of the DAPL pipeline. We have the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who controls some of the land that, the land that the camps were on, or some of the camps were on, and also some of the land that DAPL is going across. The Morton County Sheriff's Department, that were sort of the lead crew in trying to stop the water protectors. The National Guard was there, and Tiger Swan, which is a private security company. So as for Tiger Swan, if you go on The Intercept and look up Standing Rock, you can find a couple of document dumps of what they've gotten from Tiger Swan about the various ways that they were surveilling us and attacking us. One of the things that it says in those documents is that they needed the IMEI numbers of all the cyber activists that were helping at Standing Rock. So I don't think that it takes a whole lot of guesswork to figure out that they were using IMSI catchers and intended to use those that way. So I said there were multiple command vans. And this is the Happy Yellow helicopter. This thing was over our heads nearly 24/7. And I like it because it's yellow. But this is, for all of my jokes about the Happy Yellow helicopter, there were lots of low-flying aircraft, often 2 or more aircraft at once. At night, they would fly without lights. Not legal. They were flying sometimes as low as 300 feet up. They changed their tail numbers. This is, not only is this documented, but they got a huge FAA fine for changing tail numbers. They were masquerading as passenger craft and all sorts of things. And they also changed the equipment on the bottom. Now this is key for the next pieces. So the morning after I arrived at camp, my phone was already compromised. My phone was fully charged when I went to sleep. I put it into airplane mode because I knew I was in the middle of nowhere and don't want my battery to drain. 8 hours later, my battery was dead. So at that point, the only thing I could think of that would cause that is an IMSI catcher constantly hitting my phone, but that shouldn't have worked because I was in airplane mode, so that doesn't make sense. So next thing it could be is they've already gotten malware on my phone and it's trying to ping out. Now I'd been talking about going out there, I'd been working around these issues before I got there, so it's not a surprise that they might have hit my phone, except that it's a surprise for it to happen within 8 hours, right? I quickly learned that I was not alone. Myron's iPhone was turning on its recorder in an obvious way, in a psychological warfare kind of way. Recorder on in the middle of his conversations. Other phones were requiring re-login, and then people would discover that they could no longer get into their Google accounts, their Facebook accounts, etc. Other people were finding that all of their stuff had been gone through. I actually had an incident where after having an overlay virus on one of my phones, since September, I've gone through 4 phones, and I need somebody with good forensic skills to go through 3 phones to help me discover all of the things that I have missed so far.
And I just wanted to share that I got there in August before a lot of people was there. So for any of you tech guys, when you start to see any of these technology anomalies coming through, it just makes sense, like you start documenting it. And when there's nobody there and you're in a digital divide and you have some type of technology coming through that doesn't make sense. We had some of the best, I think, thinkers there throughout the country and throughout the world, scientists, a huge amount of vets that would say this is stuff we used over there in overseas, vehicles with their batteries had to get charged. A lot of guys, like, hey, I got a brand new battery and my vehicle's dead, and all the different types of vehicles that it would touch and hit. Anyways, but for us that were there and witnesses, it's good to see outside people coming in with that expertise and experience it as well.
So yes, we did call the EFF. While they were there, they say they found nothing. I would love to talk to you guys about this more, but first I'd like to talk to the EFF more about this. I think that I've discovered that my superhero is mortal. This is not a rural cell tower. This is the tower that was only reachable by people in the North Camp, which was about 10 people most of the time. It was, however, the place that they raided on October 27th. There's an hour-long version of this talk that you can find out more about that. This is what a real rural cell tower looks like. It goes much, much, much higher up and actually reaches more than 10 people at a time. This is another picture of, is that the same one that was there by the North Camp? Okay, so again, when I say this only reached 10 people 99% of the time, it literally, the range didn't reach anywhere else. There's no houses, there's nothing else around there, and it didn't reach the main camp. So we sent out FOIAs. They were all rejected on national security grounds. We used IMSI. I have lots and lots and lots of hits, including hits. Remember I said they have different things on the planes? We have hits in the middle of camp when planes went overhead. Now we have to stop. Please come check our boop, 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 boop. Yes, physical attacks. Check our website, back to, for more information, this presentation deck, more reports and links, and I'm also publishing all of our IMSI logs so that you can see what happened. Come talk to us at the GWAB table. Thanks.